So what is advocacy? It's a question I get a lot. Our definition for the moment is activities aimed at promoting awareness, education, and policy changes for a cause. Our cause obviously is community action more broadly. It's policy causes that affect low-income communities. And as community action leaders, you are the subject matter experts. So when a legislator has a question about how a program's working or what the needs are in the community, that's where you all come in as those experts to help educate legislators on where best to spend dollars, where best to add new programs and things like that. Everyone can advocate, and I know that's a common misconception. There are different rules for public agencies and 501(c)(3)s, so we'll get into those a little bit in a second. First and foremost, I just want to say that advocacy is not the same as lobbying. I use this analogy, a square is a rectangle, but a rectangle is not a square. There are really specific parameters required for it to be considered lobbying. But more broadly, advocacy is public education, raising awareness, and coalition building. One myth that we hear a lot is that public agencies can't participate in advocacy. But the truth is, public agencies can and should participate in advocacy. As we all know, the First Amendment of the Constitution gives us this right. But of course, there are different rules, and there are some more specific rules for public agencies to make sure they aren't crossing over into the lines of lobbying. So we'll get into those here. So while all of our agencies can engage in advocacy, we can't use our federal CSBG dollars to do so, to lobby officials. So 501(c)(3)s, like we said, they have some more leniency. They can participate in some limited lobbying activities. And they can educate voters during political campaigns, but they can't support a specific candidate in those campaigns. For a public agency, things are a lot more stringent. You cannot participate in any campaign activities, any sort of things that are on the ballot. You can't ask them to vote yes for, last year we had HR 3131. You can't tell your Congress member, vote yes on this measure. But they can tell their Congress member what the impacts of HR 3131 would have on their agencies. And obviously, last year we know that that would have a lot of positive impacts on our agencies. So public agencies can provide accurate, fair, and impartial presentation of relevant facts about ballot measures to voters, to legislators, to the community, as long as they aren't, crossing that line that says vote for or support this specific measure. And of course, our guidance is always to check with your local county offices. These are the overall rules of engagement, but your local office might offer different rules and have different processes for your advocacy efforts. I know some public agencies have county offices that specifically work on advocacy for their entire county. So maybe you work with them, get us in contact with them. And if your county tells you that you cannot participate in any advocacy activities, please let us know. We'd like to be able to fill in those gaps. And, if you can't meet with the legislator, maybe we can. So that's all I have for that side of things. Are there any questions before we move on? Okay, great. So when and why do we advocate? Lawrence and I were talking about this morning, actually, kind of similar to donor engagement. If you had private funders, advocacy is always ongoing, and consistent public engagement is necessary for maximum impact. But thankfully, CalCAPA and NCAF and some other folks do host specific advocacy days, fly-in weeks, conferences, etc., for you to practice these advocacy skills and to specifically plan meetings with legislators as a network. And advocacy is necessary to meet your mission and help your organization survive and thrive. As we all know, our network is pulled together by CSBG funds, which are federal funds. So when we are talking to legislators, we're really talking to our funders.